And one of the things that, what keeps, I believe that through my career of observing not just chiropractors, but business and entrepreneurships and also leaders in any particular field, there's usually three types of things that makes someone a particular champion. And let's start with the very first one. I think in order for you to become a champion of anything, and if you want to be a champion in chiropractic or champion in your life, it starts with being a master in yourself, in your mind. So it's first thing is mind. And I start here because, and I hope that this doesn't offend anybody. I just want to be very clear. It's nothing, but I want to bring it up because it came across my screen the other day, like 2 or 3 nights ago. I was just about to go to bed, and I usually don't check things on Facebook or anything before I go to bed, but somehow I had to type a message to someone and it just kind of came across my feed. And it's actually in a Facebook group that I don't even ever converse in. I don't even ever visit. I don't even know how I'm actually in that group. But the post was very interesting. The post was an interview of a person who said, basically the title was Why I Quit Chiropractic. And I thought that kind of caught my attention. And some of you might actually read that. And so I read it and I looked through it, I skimmed through it quickly, and it was talking about a particular chiropractor who just felt that her passion wasn't, I don't actually, was a he or she, I couldn't tell, just say it was a she. She quit chiropractic because she didn't feel passionate about it. But it was the one thing that stuck in my mind that got my attention. It was saying that the profession, one of the things that she felt was that the profession didn't, she didn't felt that she had the support of the profession. And from also the mentors and the other chiropractors from each other. And that stimulated a whole bunch of comments and conversations from other chiropractors saying, yeah, it's tough out here. It's tough being a chiropractor, and it's something that no one talks about. And I actually agree with that. I agree with that. When you come to a seminar or you go to a seminar, you hear speakers speak, they often talk about how easy it is or how successful it can be or how successful they are, or how amazing this profession is. What we never talk about is the dark side of this not this profession, for anything about side of business. The dark side of things is that it can be very difficult and it can be very tough. And it can be very tough for especially the new graduates. But I will say, thank you, I will say that just because, when I graduated in 2002, I know Mark Postle was speaking. I wasn't sure if he's actually there or not. But I remember taking on Mark as a mentor. And Mark and I will probably agree on this point, is that back then it was tough when we first started. And I'm encouraged, if you talk to Mark when he first started, it was tough back then too. I don't think it actually gets easier. It's actually going to get harder and harder. So if you accept the fact that it's going to get harder and harder, you just have to move on with it rather than sort of being disappointed that, or hoping and praying that it's going to get easier. And the thing is that the one thing that stuck with my mind regards to the mind part about this is that the part of saying the profession was not there to support. And this is the comment I made. I said to the group was that I really love the conversation here, and I would love for anybody to actually comment and say, please tell me what kind of support you would love to have, because I know myself, I would be willing to put my hand and time in, if I, to be able to create something as best as possible to actually create that support system for anybody who needs that support. And I'm sure other people that I'm connected with all over the world would be willing to step up and do the same, given the time and ability and technology that we have today. And guess what? 48 hours later, no comments. Not like one comment was made about, it was asking another question, but not a single comment from everybody who liked that post, everybody who commented on that post, who said that there was no support. No one actually gave an actual suggestion of what support they need. Now the expectation is almost, the problem in today, what's happening is that we are constantly looking at what we're missing, but not really being clear on what we're actually wanting. Because the reason why I asked that question is because I don't really know what everybody needs. I might believe I know what it takes for someone to be, the support they need, but that might not be something you want. But if we don't know as, leaders of this profession, or even just colleagues of this profession, then it's very difficult to be able to create that support system. The second thing I think with regards to the mindset here is that it's, number one, we got to be very clear is, and I hate to say this, but the truth is, no one gets up in the morning to take care of you other than yourself. No one is here to save you. You are the only person who has the ability and who has their whole life dedicated to help yourself. No one like we are helpers as chiropractors. We love to help people and help other people, but we get up in the morning to help ourselves. That's what we do. We are helping others through the skills that we have, but we're not there just solely just for that one patient, and you're going to take care of that one patient your whole entire life. We're here to help hundreds and thousands of people. And so if that's true, then the contrast is exactly the same. Is that no one has dedicated their whole entire life, not even your partner, not your wife, your husband, or your kids are not dedicate their life to spend all their life to just helping you. It doesn't work that way. I think we need to take the ownership and the self-responsibility to take that ownership. And when you start to realize that in the mindset and have that mindset, you are the only one who's responsible for your success or your failures, then we can move on and actually work on what needs to be done rather than focusing on why isn't anybody helping. I hope that doesn't rub anybody the wrong way. And I just want to be very, very clear that champions, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Champions don't wait for someone to pick them. They pick themselves. They show up. They train. They work hard to get to the level that where they at. And therefore, they get chosen because of the experience and the talents they have shown and the years of dedication that got them there. It wasn't like the Olympic team waited for this one swimmer to come up and join the Australian swimming team. They had to prove themselves that to be chosen. And that's the same thing out in the business world and in the real world or in the chiropractic world as well. So that's point number one. Does that make sense, anybody? I can't really hear you, so raise your hand if that makes sense or resonates with you at some point. Okay, great. Good. It's hard for me because I can't get the feedback that I normally get. So if I'm rubbing you the wrong way, so I apologize. Number two, I think in today's society right now is we're living in 2016, which means that we have to, the second after mindset is that you need to learn to modernize your practice. I have here, you got guys like Muhammad Ali, you guys got like Joe Montana or Lou Gehrig, who played in the 1920s and 30s, who was the best, arguably probably the best first baseman that's ever lived for the New York Yankees, playing in the era of Babe Ruth. Right? The reason why I love Lou Gehrig, by the way, is because of his longevity. His one stat, right, that he had a record for I don't know, for 50, 60 years, was that he played for 2,130 games. That's over 10 years, right? I think it was like 15 years or something of continual playing without missing a game in the 1920s and 30s with broken bones and no physios, no chiros back then. Thank you. I was just going to pretend I didn't see that 10-minute sign. The Lou Gehrig played for the long game. He went in day out and did his job. And so it's about longevity. If you want to become a champion, it's not about doing something great once. It's not having a great week. It's not about having a great year. It's about having a legacy of a dynasty. That's what we're trying to create. You might have good years and bad years, but it's the collection of those years. These guys are great because not just because they had one great season. They were great for their entire career. Did they have bad games? Absolutely. Did they have a bad season? Absolutely. But the thing is I want to get to is modernizing. Modernizing means this, is that if I took Lou Gehrig right now and he happened to be alive, do you think he would be wearing the same type of clothing? Would you think that he would be utilizing the same technology back in the day in the 1920s or 30s? Or do you think he would actually modernize to what baseball has to offer right now? In terms of the style of the gloves or the leather they're using, or maybe the ways that the types of clothing they would wear, and also the healing and the recovery periods and all the technology of everything that encompasses making them into an athlete, right? Of course you would. Of course you would say that. And as chiropractors, what do? We spend time learning techniques to modernize ourselves, right? We do that, right? All of you have attended some sort of technique because we kind of mandatorily have to get CPD points, right? So therefore, we kind of upgrade our skills, which is fantastic. But the problem is, the question I have for you is that have you modernized the way you actually communicate? Have you actually modernized your practice? Does your practice, for those of you practicing for longer 10 years, does your practice look like it was 10 years ago? God forbid, did it look like it was 3 years ago? Because things are changing. If you remember, we're in 2016. Facebook started like less than 10 years ago. Right? When I first started, there was no such thing as Facebook. Now you have that technology, which you can actually target market on everything else and actually draw the clients you need. So the way you market, have you actually modernized and upgraded your skills in anything in terms of marketing or selling or communicating? That's the question you have to answer yourself. We spend all this money and time on technique, which is great, but if no one's showing up in your door, then what are you doing as the best chiropractor in town, but you have no one to adjust? How is that going to help the profession, let alone yourself? That's the question you have to answer to yourself. Something you want to consider, maybe jot this down as a yes or no thing, right? On a piece of paper, I'm going to ask you 9 specific questions. Mark it as a check mark and then mark as an X if you don't have it. Number 1, in terms of your website, is it modern? Yes or no, but be honest. What I mean by modern is it mobile ready? Which means that if I look at it on the phone on a mobile, which 80-90% of people will check you up online on a mobile device, is it look the same as it is on a PC when you're sitting at home? It shouldn't, because it should be different. Number 2, also the look. Does your look? If you actually looked at a brand new website, if you went to Apple, for example, right, on an Apple site, does it look like that? Or does it look like it's dated back in the 2010 years? Okay. Number 2 is that does your website cater to 3 levels of patients? People who are hot and ready, who are ready to buy right now. People who are not really sure whether or not they should come and see you yet. And someone who just happened to stumble into your website and going, I don't even know what chiropractic is, but should I even consider continuing on this website? Or does your website only have a call to action of call me now and book an appointment? Right? It should have 3 levels, right? Hot, warm, and cold leads. You should have content that actually geared towards that. The third thing is, who's the hero in your website? Is it all about you, or is your patient or the prospect that's reading your website the hero? If it's all about you, then you are positioned as the hero, which is not what websites are designed for. This is not a promotional material. Websites are there to educate, to continue the conversation. Number 4 question is about content. Do you actually have relevant content and regularly posted content that is relevant to your prospect? And when I say relevant, I'm talking about at least once every 2 weeks. And is it actually written by you? Or is it written by someone else? Is it unique? Do you have multi-format? Some people love watching videos. Some people don't like watching videos. Some people actually like to read. Do you have multi-formatted content on your website? Or is it just one way? Is it just videos? Or is it just words? Or is it just articles? The 7th question, capturing. Do you have an offer on your website to actually continue that conversation? I'm not talking about an offer that gives away something that they don't want. I'm talking about something that they actually want. Number 8, do you have a system to actually capture an email that actually allows them to have a conversation with you, to continue that conversation? And number 9 is that do you have a nurture sequence that actually allows them to keep that conversation alive, to taking a prospect who's kind of a warm lead and maybe continue that conversation over time, because not everybody just buys like that. Sometimes it takes 6 months. Do you have something to keep that conversation alive? So the question is, how many actually scored 9 out of 9? Right? If you scored, anybody scored 8 or 9, then fantastic. But this is the profession that we're in. If we're upgrading our skills and becoming the best chiropractor, what about how can we elevate this profession if we can't modernize the way we communicate and how we look to the people? This is our signature piece. If chiropractors don't look good to the profession, to the people, then our profession looks like we're back in the 90s. That's not a good look for the profession as a whole. I'm not even talking about you as an individual. The third thing. Oh, is that a 10-minute mark? Okay, thanks. All right. I think you guys are ahead, aren't you? So I can take some time. No, I'll respect the time. The thing is that back then, right? I think, is that Mark in the back there? I don't know. Is Mark Postle there? Yeah, there you go, Mark. Hey, how's it going, buddy? When Mark was, when we were chatting a long time ago, it was going back to like 13 years ago, right? Mark, when we were talking, like back then, when we started as a chiropractor, when I first started in 2002, we only had to become a chiropractor, really. Like, you just need to focus on this one skill, the skill set of becoming that chiropractor, right? But then the thing is, now in 2016, you not only have to learn to become a great chiropractor, you got to learn how to be a great marketer as well. And not only that, you also have to be a great social media expert as well. And that's bloody hard. And this is what I'm talking about at the beginning of this thing, that this is getting harder. And some of you might be thinking, people who have been practicing for 10 years and above are like, oh, I know, it sucks, and I don't know what to do, and I almost want to just ignore it and just hope and pray that this will go away. I'm sorry to tell you, but 2018 and 2020 is coming, and it's only going to get worse. See, if your foot is not in the game, if you're not even in the ring, then we're going to be playing a different game in 2 years' time. I can guarantee it. But if you're that much further, for every year you wait, you're that much further. Sure, you might say, oh, I'll just hire someone. Yeah, great. But what are you hiring someone for? You don't even understand what you're hiring for. If you don't understand what you're hiring someone for, then you're wasting money and you don't even know how to play the game, because the game has changed completely. So the rules of the game and how we practice and how we communicate with our patients have completely changed. And we need to step up as an entire profession. No longer can we, the school, when we graduate, we're not equipped, right, to handle all of this stuff. So your learning in the profession does not stop. It will never stop. That's the issue. And you have to continue learning. You have to go and search for those things. And it comes to me the third M, the third point I want to make, which is having a mastermind. You need to have someone to support you. You need to be, every champion that I know has had a team of people to surround themselves. And there's a concept, the person who came up with this concept escapes my mind right now, it was from an MMA fighter, Shamrock. Frank Shamrock was his name. And he actually, when he fought, when he picked his, as he prepared for his fights, he would have 3 levels. Thank you. 3 levels. It's called a plus, minus, equal. Which means that when you create a mastermind, you need to hang out with people who are above you, who are your mentors, people that you look up to, people that are smarter than you. In mastermind groups that I'm part of, I'm the dumbest person in that room. Because if you're the smartest person in that room, you're in the wrong room. Number 2, that's plus. Number 2 is equal. You need to also hang out with like-minded people, people who are just like you, who are striving for the exact same thing you're trying to do, because they will push you and hold you accountable. The mentors, as I mentioned, will pull you, right? The like-mindedness, the equal people, your colleagues, they will push you together, right? The last one is minus, which are basically you become the mentor, which means you need to find mentees. People that will look up to you so that you can teach them and educate them, because by educating them and teaching them, you learn. And that's how you basically will take the concept you learned today from all the speakers and be able to, once you tell someone, whether it be a CA or one of your students or even just a fellow colleague, it ingrains it in your mind. When you can ingrain it in your mind, that sets you up to become the champion that you want to be. So those are my 3 things, and I think my time's run out. So I hope that was helpful.